this is going to be bizarre. So if you're looking forward to it, you're just going to get bizarre. The border run, Diane, is what you have to do if you're in Costa Rica and you're working on getting your residency and you don't have your entire residency package together. You have to do a 90-day border run. We try to we try to work it where we have two Nicaragua ones a year and two flights back to the US, sometimes three flights. But an ugly reality when you're trying to work on getting your residency and you don't quite have it yet, you got to do the 90 days in and then leave and then come right back in. Hopefully, you're not supposed to be doing that, but they will just let you slide if you're trying to work on your residency. Hey, Nitwit, I have not done a Nicaraguan border run since March. I have to look at my passport. I think it's like March 13th. I did one then in March 13th. Hey, Real Entertainment News, I've got a tale for you. So the last time I did this was March 13th, 2020. So at that point, days later, the government of Costa Rica shut down the borders, said those of us that were here who were Americans could stay on our tourist visas. We didn't have to go out because we couldn't come back in. Either you went to the US and stayed or you stayed here. We chose to stay here. I know a lot of people that opted to go back. And the borders here were closed from March 2020 until November 2020. So it was really weird. We couldn't get mail from the States here in Tamarindo. I understand in San Jose they did still get mail. We didn't get any mail from the States. I had people say, "What the hell? I mailed you a wedding invitation and it came back undeliverable." This is because I'm overseas right now in the pandemic. So I haven't been back to the Nicaraguan border in all that time. So you do your 90-day border run. And if you decide to come here, you decide not to fly out to the US, then you got to go up to Nicaragua or you go down to Panama. We go up to Nicaragua because it's an hour and 15, hour and a half from us. And we can go through Liberia and do our major shopping. Liberia has Price Mart, which is the same thing as Costco, same brands and everything. And there's a Walmart that has everything American. So this is an essential thing if you need these things. Normally, it's very simple. You drive up, you park, you pay your Costa Rican exit tax, you go into Costa Rica's immigration building, you show them you've paid the exit tax, they stamp your passport, you leave the country. You leave the country on foot and you walk in the no man's land. You walk in the no man's land, which is like a mile and a half, 2 miles to Nicaragua, and there's not a whole lot in between those two places. You know that you're in a weird sort of strip that's kind of disputed. So you get to the other side, walk into their building, hand them your passport. First, you got to pay them $1 to go in the building. Pay the buck at the door. You go in. You pay them $12 to enter the country. It's now 13. Then stamp your passport. You walk straight out of the building, walk around, walk back through the building and exit and pay a $3 exit fee and then reverse, do that couple of mile hike to the Costa Rican side where you come through and they start asking you questions like, how long are you going to be, blah, blah, blah. And if they think you're a perpetual tourist who has no intention of ever becoming a resident, then it will eventually say you have to file for residency or you have to get out. So I wasn't sure how this was going to happen for us today because COVID. That border's been closed to us for a long, long time. It only reopened like a month or so ago, 6 weeks, something like that. So it was with trepidation and lots of problems. First of all, Costa Rica is now requiring everybody who comes here on a tourist visa to have this huge amount of insurance, medical insurance, to cover if you have to go to the hospital here with COVID. It's got to cover up to like $50,000 worth of medical treatment. And 50,000 here is a huge amount. No medical treatment runs anything near that. So you've got to have that. You've got to have, to go to Nicaragua, you have to have a valid COVID test. And the valid COVID test has to be like 48 hours, a real short period of time. But I couldn't find that on the Nicaraguan website. So I was assuming it was like 36 hours, like the Americans. Big assumption that was wrong. You know what they say about assumptions. Another thing I ran into was that with the insurance is I tried to buy it at the same place I bought it last time. Well, at this other place, it was cheaper. And they said, no, you can't. If you're in Costa Rica and you're doing a border run, it won't matter. Hey, Jennifer. So anyway, long story short, they made me pull my hair out. Oh, that's pork. Pork is a stray. I know you're a cat lover, so I'm just gonna tell you I have one official cat. Um, yeah, Jennifer, just to renew your visa. It's pretty crazy. I have a pile of cats, real. I know that you do too. I feed all the strays in the neighborhood. I have two strays that have decided to live here, and I have one official cat. So I have three in the house, and God knows how many outside. That was one of the big things we had to do today was to hit Costco, Price Mart, and get industrial sized bags of decent cat food. So anyway, long story short, so I got delayed with the paperwork, and I was already a couple days late because of Tico time being a couple of days late or even a couple of weeks, um, even a couple of weeks late is not so bad. They won't get you at the border. They said nothing to us today. They can hit you with a small fine. They can make you stay out for the same number of days, well, double the days that you are extended. But I've never have seen that happen to anybody. I've heard of it happening to people who showed up at customs and acted stupid. It may happen then. So it was with trepidation I went there today because, like I said, I had problems with all this paperwork. And you have to fill out a Paso de Salud, which is a health pass where you tell the Costa Rican government, no, I don't have any COVID symptoms. And I promise, Scouts Honor, if I do, to quarantine for 14 days. We're having high numbers here. They've come down a little bit, thank goodness, but they're trying their darndest. So you can't even drive every day. So that delayed us going too because you could only drive every other day if you're here. So long story short, we went. Costa Rican side, no problem. Paid the fee, stamped the passport, and away we went. We started walking that long walk, no man's land, which I was curious to see because when this first happened and the borders closed, there was a whole lot of Nicaraguans who got caught between borders and could not come back into Costa Rica and could not go forward into Nicaragua that ended up living in like a shanty town in this no man's land between the two sides. Yeah. Um, the other thing that happened, so we got to the Nicaraguan side, and the first thing used to be you see all these guys with AK-47s. You'd have to show your passport over and over again. I've had bag search going through Nica. But the last, I'd say 18 months, they've become way more Western friendly, I would say. They put in a big fancy building. They took away all the guys with the guns. You still have to show your passport a lot, but the people at least are relatively friendly and nobody's got a gun in your face. So there's that. Today, the first guy I hit was a medical personnel. So I pulled out my COVID test that I'd had run, and they required the PCR test, which is the more expensive and the more accurate of the tests. So here we are. We've paid $115 each to have these stupid tests. Shoved them in the guy's face and said, "No, your tests are invalid because they're out of date." And I was like, "What do you mean they're out of date?" So we started talking, and he said, "Well, show me on your computer." And thankfully, I remembered to bring my laptop. Show me on your computer when you received the thing. And if you received it in that tiny little time frame, then maybe we can work something out. So I pulled it up. My husband's was fine. He'd received it in that time frame. I had received it 15 minutes too early from that time frame. So they're saying that my husband could go in, but I could not. You know, we ended up doing this is the craziest thing I've ever done in a border run, too. Craziest damn thing. And that's saying something. I ended up having to use my laptop I'm talking to you guys on to Photoshop a different date on my own COVID test in front of an official in Nicaragua, the health official saying, yeah, you gotta change that, change it. We're gonna look the other way and let you change that. So I photoshopped my own stupid COVID test to a day afterwards when it was actually issued to me because there was a 15-minute delay. Um, Corruption. At least, Jennifer, this is one of the few times I've been there and there's been some kind of crazy confloption going on where somebody hasn't had their hand out expecting a payment. I told my husband at one point, I was like, get ready for the bribe. We're going to have to pull it out. And we did not. Plus, there was a wonderful Nika man that I met that had a pedicab. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those with a bicycle in the back and you just sit in the front. Those are very common at the border. Well, since I likely have MS, I got to find out when I have my test with my um, neurologist. Since February, I've developed this charming habit where I walk like a drunk person unless I'm using my cane, and then I just walk like a tipsy person. So I decided, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, Jennifer. I'm trying to share that knowledge with others too. So since I walk like a tipsy person, and a lot of the Ticos will say, she's drunk. I'm stone cold sober. So I got in the pedicab, and he was wonderful. He pushed me all around, put me in the front of the line since I'm handicapped. It was wonderful. Walked in Nicaragua, stamp, stamp, stamp. Walked out, pedicab back, and paid him a nice, munificent tip. Got his phone number. He's going to come paint for us, I think, because my kitchen needs it so badly. I need to do a complete remodel of my kitchen. And the first thing that needs to happen in there is paint. And then I'll replace the appliances and put in a new sink. But until that time, I need to paint and then put in a tile backsplash. So I think that he'll come and do it for reasonable. Nikas, I'm going to tell you this, they're wonderful people. They're some of the hardest workers you've ever seen. They will work very inexpensively for you. The guys that clean our pool, one of them is from Nicaragua. He comes and does our gardens sometimes. I've finally gotten over him killing a giant iguana and eating it. So there's that. So today, the grand total, they have not changed any of the fees for crossing the border. In fact, the Costa Rican exit tax has gone down by $1. It's now $8. That's because the dollar is very high against the colone right now. When we were in PriceSmart earlier, they were offering $6.19 per dollar, which is a pretty good exchange rate. I found that PriceSmart offers almost exactly the same as a bank, sometimes a little higher. So when we walk in, we look to see what the daily exchange rate is, so we'll know whether we're using our dollar account or our colones account. So when the exchange rate is that high like that, then it's lower for the fee going across the border. So it was only $8. So you add in your $12 to enter Nicaragua, you add in your $2 to go in and out of the building. It's just the building fund. And you add in your $3 exit fee, and you're at $24 a person, which is actually kind of a bargain. If you fly out and you have to pay that exit fee, it can be a lot more. So there's that. And I always say I always have crazy tales when I cross the border. Last 3 or 4 times have been really dull. The first time I crossed the border, it was at night, and there were all these armed guards. They were searching my bags again and again and again. And I was on my way to San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua, which is not far from the border. And the border station, get this, is the dumbest name of all time: Penis Blancas. I know where my mind goes. I know where probably everybody else's mind goes with that. It's a funny name. It's hysterical to me that white penis. It's where my brain goes with that, but my brain tends to go in the gutter sometimes. So we were going up to San Juan del Sur that very first time with our baggage. I had booked us at a resort called the Marbella Beach Resort on Marbella Beach in San Juan del Sur. We got a cab to San Juan del Sur. pulled up in the middle of town, and he said, "Well, where are you going? What's your hotel name?" I said, "Our hotel name is the Marbella Beach Resort." He said, "I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I refuse to go there." So we had to start haggling with the cab driver and take that $27 cab fare suddenly turned into like $40. So he finally took us, but here's where it got comical. He had his little saints, his little medallions, and he was fumbling with them while he was driving. And he's praying. He's praying to Mary and Joseph. He's praying to all the saints that he is protected against robbers, French robbers on motorcycles, to be specific, trash, garbage, basura, and other things. And I am just puzzling for the backseat. What the hell? So we take this back road through what looks like a dump. I guess that's where the garbage came from. I saw no French bandits on motorcycles. I don't know where that came from. What I did see was a lot of fancy fake Italiana villas, like that were everywhere. They're very expensive. You know, it had to be full of gringos, resort type abodes. And then finally, we're going down this dirt road, and the road ends. The road ends. It ends, and we get out and take a look, and there's a river. I kid you not. And I don't know how deep that river is, but now he's really calling on Mary and Joseph and saying, he can't risk his car, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm standing there, and I don't even have good balance way back then, even. So I'm standing there looking at the mud, and I fall in the mud. I fall down in it. And my husband calls the resort and says, "Hey, here we are on the other side of the river. We see your sign that says that you're 300 meters away. Can you come get us?" So the guy from the resort comes and gets us, and we wade across the river and get in the car and go and say, "What have we gotten ourselves into? What have we gotten ourselves into? We're going to be robbed. What's going to happen?" So we went to bed. It was so dark because there was no street lights, no nothing. Couldn't see where we were, couldn't see what the resort looked like, nothing. We just a little wooden cabina, a little, like you'd say, cabin, wooden cabin. We got up in the morning, and it was the most beautiful beach I had ever seen. We were right on this private beach. Our little wooden cabin was right there on the beach, mere steps from the water. And we stayed there 3 days. It was most heavenly 3 days. We loved that place. I cannot wait until the political situation in Nicaragua calms down enough that we can actually explore it again. I'm dying to go to Bluefields. It's supposed to be like an ancient, like a pirate type hideout where the pirates of the Caribbean or whatever used to go there, the real ones, not the phony ones. And yeah, it was so beautiful. It was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. And there's other places. I want to see Corn Island. They tell me Corn Island is fabulous. There's Boca de Toro in Panama. So I'm hoping now that parts of the world are starting to unlock from COVID. And my husband goes back to the States on June the 20th something. And I'm going back in July. We're going to get our shots. We're going to get vaccinated, and we'll be able to rejoin the world and start going to some of these places again. I can't wait to get to Peru and some of the other places where people go. I've had my friends tell me some crazy tales of Peru. One of them was saying, "Why is this tea making me jumpy?" Well, in Peru they make the tea with coca leaves. So and it's perfectly legal. So I'm ready to experience all that. I don't care if I can't hardly walk. I'll figure out a way to do it. So that's what I want to remind you guys. There's a beautiful world out there now that COVID is starting to lift. Go out and have some adventures. I mean, I'm planning on doing it even here. I can't wait to bug Jim to go back to see the volcano. We have wonderful volcano parks here. And the volcanoes, we climbed one time. That was back before I was all falling down. So I can say I've climbed an active volcano. Oh, so I just want to tell you guys because I just got the biggest kick out of the day that I had. I didn't even know what this day would hold, but now I know what is required with the border. So if you ever get where you're wondering about these things, you can always reach out to me and I'll help you with that. Particularly here in Costa Rica, when they're not the most clear about some of these things. The Pass de Salud, the health pass, is an online thing that everybody must fill out to get here. And it's much better now, but the first time I filled it out in March, it was hard to make heads or tails of the whole damn thing. I don't know what all they wanted. Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to try to take a shower because I have completely pitted out all my clothing today because it was a very hot day in Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and the border is not air conditioned. The buildings aren't air conditioned. It's sweat and sweat. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Pippi Longstockings. This is one of those. This has been one of those. We always say here. My husband loves to say, "Every day is an adventure." Every day is an adventure here. Sometimes it's just upsetting adventure, like the day that Gerald caught the iguana and cut his head off in front of me. And some days, like I said, I was absolutely freaking out trying to. It's the first time I've ever had to Photoshop something in front of a full audience. Oh, and to be able to get the internet like with my cell phone coming, it was just a mess. It was just a mess and a half. I couldn't believe it. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go hop in the shower so that I can get clean again finally. You have a great day. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you guys anytime later, if I don't pop on this weekend sometime. Love you.